I never thought I'd be right in one of these birds. I'm a 34-year-old guy. I'm married for 6 years to my 32-year-old wife, and until recently, life was just, well, pretty normal. Not the kind of normal that's boring, but the kind where everything works. You wake up, go to work, have dinner, watch a show, go to bed, rinse and repeat. I'm in a good place professionally. I'm a successful manager at a tech company. So I guess you could say I'm living the good life. High social status, decent paycheck, a stable home. I'm not one of those guys who spends his days talking about how content he is. That would be too cliche, but yeah, I'm content. My wife, let's call her Sarah, is amazing, and we get along well. There's no drama, no major issues. Sure, we bicker occasionally, like when I leave my socks all over the house, but who doesn't? It's the kind of stuff that makes life. Well, life. So imagine my surprise when I started to notice something was off. It all started when I noticed I was acting different. At first, I thought it was just me. Maybe I was being paranoid. I mean, we've been married for 6 years and everything had been fine. So when she started staying out later than usual after work, I tried to brush it off. Maybe she was just busy or with some new project at work. No big deal, right? But then it happened again and again. And this time she started dressing differently, more glamorous. Not that I'm complaining about her looking good, but she'd never been the type to care much about clothes. She was always more of a jeans and tee kind of woman. And now she was wearing those elegant dresses, heels, and God help me, perfume. I don't even remember the last time I saw her wear perfume. I'll admit I started to wonder, is she cheating on me? The thought popped into my head, and I tried to shake it off. I mean, why would she? We've been solid for years. But the more I thought about it, the more confident I became. It's the classic scenario, right? The husband who's too blind to see his wife slipping away, only to have the rug pulled out from under him when it's too late. One night, I decided to go full Sherlock Holmes. I went through her purse. Yes, I know, pretty lame move. But hear me out. You can only be so cool about things before your inner detective takes over. I didn't find a smoking gun, but I did find a receipt from a fancy restaurant. A really fancy restaurant. One she'd never mentioned before. My heart sank. That was it. The evidence I had been waiting for, right there, in the form of a restaurant receipt that could have been written in suspicious ink. This was it. I thought I'd cracked the case wide open. But then I looked at the receipt again, and then again, and something wasn't sitting right. She had paid for a single meal, and the receipt was from like a week ago. It's not like she went there with some random guy, right? Maybe she just had dinner with a friend. But why didn't she tell me? Why the secrecy? I mean, there is no way this wasn't evidence of something, right? As I stood there, holding that piece of paper, I felt like an absolute idiot. What am I doing? I am a grown man, not a teenager, with a magnifying glass trying to catch someone in a lie. I laughed at myself, standing there like a cliché, a jealous husband who's been reading too many crime novels. But what if it was true? Okay, so now I'm in full-on panic mode. I had to talk to her. I couldn't just keep pretending that everything was fine when I was drawing in doubt. My heart was pounding, and I felt like I might be on the edge of a breakdown. Was I the paranoid guy who watches too much true crime? Or was this the moment I confront the unthinkable? I waited for her to come home that evening. She walked in, looking stunning as usual, wearing a sleek dress that I was pretty sure I'd never seen before. Perfume lingering in the air like she was starring in some kind of glamorous perfume ad. "Hey, baby," I said, trying to sound casual, but I'm sure my voice betrayed me. "What's up with the fancy new dress? Going somewhere special?" Her eyes widened for a second, and she paused. "Oh, no. I just, something different. Felt like treating myself." I gave her my best, really? Look, really? Because last time I checked, you didn't treat yourself by spending 2 hours getting ready, wearing perfume, and going to dinner without telling me where you're going. She froze. There it was, at the tension. The uncomfortable silence that just hung there. I didn't go anywhere special," she said quickly, too quickly, like she was trying to brush it off. I pulled out the receipt. "What's this, then?" She blinked, looking at the receipt like it was some foreign object she hadn't seen before. "What's that?" Don't play dumb, Sarah," I said, my voice getting sharper. "You've been acting weird. I found this, a receipt for a very fancy restaurant. I want answers, now." I'll admit I had it all planned out in my head. I thought she'd break down, confess everything, and I'd have my answer. The typical movie scene where the cheater finally admits to it all. Instead, she just stared at me, completely calm, and then she laughed. "You think I'm cheating on you because of a receipt from a restaurant?" she asked, shaking her head, her eyes full of amusement. Yeah, that's exactly what I think." My voice sounded more like an angry hamster than the confident man I'd been earlier. The truth is, I wasn't prepared for her reaction. She sighed dramatically, then leaned back and crossed her arms. "Oh my God, seriously? You think I'm cheating on you because I had dinner at a restaurant? with some guy? I nodded, feeling like the entire conversation was slipping through my fingers. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. She shook her head. Okay, here's what happened. I was out with Jessica, my friend from work. We were talking about, work stuff, and I had a little too much wine at that and didn't tell you because I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't think I needed to get your permission to have a meal with a friend. I raised an eyebrow. So, no affair. Just Jessica. Just Jessica, she repeated, looking at me like I was the one who had lost the plot. I felt like an idiot. I really, truly did. But then something in her tone made me question it all over again. Could this all really be true? Was she really just having dinner with a coworker? It sounded so off, like a rehearsed excuse. She knew how to talk her way out of this, but the problem was there was no evidence, no proof, just words. And now I was stuck. What was I supposed to believe? Okay, so now I'm in a full-blown emotional spiral. I didn't know what to think anymore. My mind was a whirlwind of conflict thoughts, kind of like one of those washing machines that just spins everything around until you're dizzy and completely lost. At first, I was angry. Really angry. Not just at her, but at myself too. How could I have been so stupid? I'd been that guy, the paranoid husband who thought every little thing was a red flag. A receipt from a restaurant? Really, dude? Are you serious right now? I stormed around the house for a bit, muttering to myself, I mean, it's Jessica, right? Of course, it's Jessica, because all women have a friend named Jessica, who suddenly becomes their wine buddy out of nowhere. Yeah, that's completely logical. I tried to cool down, took a few deep breaths, but the more I thought about it, the more my anger shifted to confusion. The logical side of me told me that I was just being insecure and paranoid, and that I needed to let it go. But the emotional side, well, it was convinced there was something going on. How could it not be? She was hiding something, wasn't she? And then, as if on cue, the sadness hit. The deep, gut-wrenching sadness you get when you realize that maybe you've let things go too far. That you've been too trusting, too complacent, and now you're wondering if it's all been a lie? I mean, we've been married for 6 years. 6 years of pretty solid, no-drama marriage. And now, all of a sudden, I'm wondering if everything was just a facade? Was I just a side kid in her life? A safety net? A place to come home to after she had her real fun? I couldn't stop myself from imagining her with some other guy. Some guy who probably wasn't as boring as me. Some guy who could dance and laugh and not leave socks everywhere. Maybe he took her out to fancy restaurants and whispered sweet things into her ear. Meanwhile, here I was, living in my sweatpants, eating leftover pizza and wondering when the last time we'd had a spontaneous date night was. So, yeah, I was missed, but I was also devastated. But I didn't show it. Oh no, I was too good for that. I took a long shower, trying to wash away the anger and the weird sense of being betrayed. But then the humor kicked in because I had to laugh at myself. Why do I always think the worst? I muttered, staring at my reflection. I mean, I couldn't have been wrong, right? Maybe I was just overthinking all of it. Yeah, that's probably it. I'm just a huge idiot. And then the worst part of it all hit me. She had no idea. Sarah had no clue that her new perfume was slowly turning me into a crazy detective, combining through her purse like some combing through the purse like some kind of amateur spy. She didn't know I was questioning everything about our life together. She was living her life, probably laughing about how I'd been freaking out over nothing. The irony, I didn't know whether to laugh at myself or cry. I spent the next couple of days in a fog. I'd go to work, I'd go home, and I'd pretend like everything was fine. But inside, I was torn. On one hand, I wanted to trust Sarah. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who always assumes the worst. But on the other hand, those little signs were still bugging me. Her late nights, the new clothes, their weird excuses, they just didn't sit right. Finally, I decided to confront her again. I wasn't going to let this eat me alive. I needed clarity, whether it was a wake-up call to fix things or a reason to walk away. We sat down in the living room one evening after dinner. I had been stewing over it for days, trying to figure out the best approach. What was I supposed to say? How do you bring up something like, hey, I think you are cheating on me, but I'm not sure because you're being super secretive about everything, but I don't have actual proof. Classic, right? But then right before I opened my mouth, she dropped a bombshell on me. Okay, I need to come clean, she said, looking at me with an odd expression. Now I know what you are thinking. I thought it was going to be one of those I've been having an affair confessions. But no, she said, I've been pranking you. What? Wait, what? I said, my brain shot circuiting. Pranking me? Seriously? She nodded, looking guilty but also a little amused. Yeah, I've been doing it for the last couple of weeks. You know, I wanted to see if you'd notice the little changes, the perfumes, the late nights, the new dresses. I wanted to see if you'd get suspicious. My jaw nearly hit the floor. You are telling me that you've been acting suspicious on purpose? She laughed awkwardly. I wasn't trying to make you go full detective on me. But yeah, it was supposed to be funny. But clearly, I pushed it too far. I was speechless for a moment. So there was no secret dinner, no affair, no Jessica? No, Jessica is real, but I just, I don't know, I thought it would be funny to mess with you a little. I've been reading all of these posts online about how husbands get paranoid when their wives change their routines, and I thought, why not have a little fun with it? I blinked. I literally didn't know what to say. This woman, my wife, has spent weeks intentionally making me feel like I was losing my mind just to prank me. I had to laugh because, well, what else could I do? You've got to be kidding me. You've been pranking me all this time? I thought I was about to write a whole Reddit post about you cheating on me. She shrugged sheepishly. Yeah, I might have done a bit overboard, but I thought you'd laugh when you figured it out. I sat there for a moment, processing the absurdity of it all. The whole scene had been a setup. All my paranoid thoughts, all the late-night detective work, all the restaurant receipt, none of it was real. It was just a long, drawn-out prank. But here the scene. It worked. I couldn't deny it. My emotions had been all over the place. I let myself spiral into doubt, anger, and insecurity, all because of a little perfume and a dinner receipt. I needed to step back and laugh at myself. Not because I thought this was funny, but because I realized just how ridiculous I'd been. After the initial shock wore off, I made my decision. I wasn't going to let this be a deal breaker. Sure, it had been a strange, messed up prank, but it taught me something important. I had to trust my wife more and trust myself less when my imagination got the best of me. We were going to walk through this. I didn't want to get lost in my insecurities or jump to conclusions. This was a wake-up call for both of us. I needed to communicate more, and she needed to know that playing with trust was a dangerous game, even if it was just a prank. I decided not to make a big deal out of it. I'd move on, but I'd also have a talk with her about boundaries, because if there is one thing I've learned from all this, it's that pranking your husband about cheating is a pretty terrible idea. So here I am, still married, still a little dumbfounded, but mostly I learned some valuable lessons, and I figured since I've come this far, I might as well share some of them. Maybe someone out there can learn from my ridiculous experience and avoid the emotional roller coaster I just went through. First of all, trust is everything in a relationship. Yeah, I know that sounds like something a self-help book would say, but it's true. The more I think about it, the more I realize that all my suspicious ideas, my frantic search for proof of an affair, were all rooted in insecurity and not really anything that Sarah did. She didn't give me a reason to doubt her, but my own imagination had taken over. I was the one who let a few small changes, like a new dress and a late dinner, mess with my head. Next, don't go full detective mode unless you have actual solid evidence. If you start Googling things like how to tell if your partner is cheating or signs of a spouse hiding something, you're probably setting yourself up for a disaster. If you need to Google your spouse, maybe it's time to sit down and talk to them directly instead of doing amateur sleuth work. I got myself so tangled up in hypotheticals and worst-case scenarios that I almost missed the bigger picture, communication. But here the kicker. The prank, as I messed up as it was, it showed me just how much I overthink things. I went from 0 to 100 in a matter of days, all because of my own anxiety. And to be honest, a little bit of boredom. I didn't trust myself enough to just be chill. So Sarah definitely owes me one for that. Maybe not a fancy dinner at a new restaurant, but definitely a night of Netflix and pizza where we talk about anything but pranks. As for Sarah, well, we had a long chat about what we went down. It wasn't a heartfelt conversation. We both laughed a little because at the end of the day, it was just a prank. But it was a reminder that trust can be fragile and playing around with it can be dangerous. We agreed, no more messing with each other's heads like that. If she wants a fun prank, she can stick to something harmless, like hiding my phone or pretending she lost her keys, but anything involving emotional manipulation is off the table. And honestly, this whole thing gave me some perspective. I've been so caught up in my own head and my perfectly structured life that I forgot to appreciate what I have. Maybe I was taking my wife for granted. Maybe I needed to be more present and not so obsessed with being right or in control of everything. Life is messy, sure, but it's also kind of beautiful when you stop assuming the worst. So, to anyone reading this, don't let paranoia control you. Trust your partner, trust your God, but don't turn into a detective without a case. And for the love of all things sacred, if you're going to prank your spouse, maybe keep it in the realm of who ate the last slice of pizza, and not who's secretly dating someone else. My advice, if you feel like something's off in your relationship, talk about it. Don't sit around stewing, googling red flags. You'll only drive yourself crazy. Oh, and if you're going to prank your spouse, make sure it's not something that could end up as a Reddit post, because trust me, it'll probably get away more complicated than you think.